in Detroit, you grew up in a city that's like 80% Black. You see Black leadership everywhere. You see Black business ownership everywhere. So your sense of identity is very positive and it's strong because after you leave Detroit, you're going to be in a lot of spaces and places where you're one of few of, or it's not that many that look like you. But because of where we come from, we're comfortable with our identity wherever we go. Journalism is curiosity. You have to be curious about how the world works, how it doesn't work in order to be a journalist. I know that there's this constant conversation between what is a journalist versus what is an influencer, and you know the difference. Like a lot of journalists don't really want to be entrepreneurs, but I was sort of forced into entrepreneurship, if you will, just realizing that I myself was the business.
My working professionals, creators, entrepreneurs, I need y'all to tap in. Listen, if you're tired of fighting distractions at home or bouncing around from coffee shop to coffee shop, then Bamboo has exactly what you need to be able to lock in and get your work done. In addition to having flexible meeting rooms and event space, they've got a community that actually supports you while you're in the building. So if you're ready to lock in some space right now, guess what? I got you. If you head over to bamboocowork.com right now and use the promo code BlackFriday20, you'll get 20% off any of your rental bookings. Don't waste any more time. Head over to bamboocowork.com and take care of that. Use that promo code. I'll be seeing you at a Bamboo location sometime soon. Now, let's go ahead and get back into the episode. Up Doe, Black Fridays family. Welcome back to another installment of the Black Fridays podcast. Today, I need you to make sure that you hit that like button, subscribe, drop a comment, and send some videos to family, friends, and loved ones so that we can keep this thing going. Now that we got the business aspect out of the way, I have to let you all know that this is a monumental episode of the Black Fridays podcast. We have a legend in the building. And when I say legend, I'm talking about somebody who has touched almost every aspect that you can think of when it comes to media. I'm talking not only writing, producing, podcasting, being a media personality, all the above. Definitely a woman who does not need any introduction, but rightfully so will receive one today on the platform. And I can't forget to mention the 2018 National Association of Black Journalists of the Year, none other than Detroit's own Miss Jemele Hill. Thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. I appreciate that very gracious introduction. Thanks for having me.
Of course, and well-deserved, as I mentioned. And I got a chance to meet you in person for the very first time at the Bomisi Summit a few weeks ago. And you were a woman of your word and pulled up on us today on the podcast. And before we get into this discussion about your journey, about business and all the things that you have been able to accomplish and achieve, I got us started because your story is firmly rooted in Detroit and your upbringing in the city. And I got to start there. And I would love to understand, how do you feel as being a daughter of Detroit, so to speak, how that has shaped the woman that you have become today?
Well, it's something that I wear as a badge of honor, being from Detroit, for sure. Detroit has such a significant impact on the type of person I became, the type of journalist I became. Anybody who's from Detroit understands that, our city, we just have a certain mentality. There's a certain grit to us, a certain hustle mentality that most of us have. And I think it's also a city that breeds a lot of confidence in us as well. And, one thing about Detroit is we're going to figure out a way to get it done. We're going to figure out a way. Like it's just kind of what is been bred into us, so to speak. And so growing up in that environment, and I think also growing up in a city that was economically Black, politically Black, and socially Black, that is really a significant advantage, is that anybody who grew up in Detroit, you grew up in a city that's like 80% Black. You see Black leadership everywhere. You see Black business ownership everywhere. So your sense of identity is very positive and it's strong. Because after you leave Detroit, you're going to be in a lot of spaces and places where you're one of few of, or it's not that many that look like you. But because of where we come from, we're comfortable with our identity wherever we go. So I think that part was like a major component. It tripped me out when I, got to college and even further into adulthood to talk to people, other Black people who came from cities where or in school systems where like they like had very few black teachers, never had a black male teacher or like stuff like that. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
really the question you should ask me is how many white teachers I had, because I can tell you throughout going through Detroit public schools, it was probably less than five. All right,
Right.
like everybody was black, you know. So while we were certainly like we knew obviously Black History Month, but I mean Black History Month was all year round because black teachers intentionally taught about black people the entire school year. So just little things like that, I didn't realize were such an anomaly unless you grew up in, you know, maybe Detroit, maybe Atlanta, maybe some places that were heavily black.
Mm-hmm.
But even some of those other places that are heavily black because they're not politically black or structurally black,
Mm-hmm.
they might have the numbers, but they don't necessarily have the support to do those things. But, you know, it's black people everywhere in Detroit that are controlling the halls of power. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, there was never any idea that we needed an excuse to be black, act black, or to learn about being black. And so I really appreciated having such a good foundation. And it has, I think, given me just a sense of awareness, like an additional superpower to me is coming from the city of Detroit.
100%. And getting a chance to listen to your memoir, as you can see, I got it right on my
Yeah, I do.
shoulder
I like the
right there.
positioning. That's good stuff.
Absolutely. I was listening to your interview with Kevin on stage, and what they say, always be selling, ABS.
Yes,
Got to sell them books. So,
true.
so listening to your story, I know that being firmly rooted in the city and in a part of that blackness was the family that you came from, obviously, and your career in at your core, I know that you're a journalist, but you have become so many more things and done so many more things outside of that throughout your career. But as you got your footing in journalism, or even starting to get an inkling or inception of what that career could look like, I was wondering your connection with your grandmother. I know that she was a stickler for education. I know that you
Mhm.
grew up being very enthralled with history. I was curious if that connection that you had with your grandmother and that inquisitiveness, was that the incubation, or was that the inception of you possibly pursuing a career in journalism, that curiosity and always wanting to learn more, that thirst for knowledge?
Yeah, in some ways, I would say it was. But I would also attribute some of it to just being a sports fan, because the thing is, because the way you had to consume sports then was so different. So yeah, I did. My curiosities were always encouraged, and my grandmother was a really big reader. You know, she had a library in her basement, and I will never forget. I made the mistake once of telling her I was bored, and she made me go down there. And she had a copy of War and Peace, which, if you've ever seen a copy of War and Peace, you know this book is is probably like 15 layers deep. It is so thick. It is a lot of pages. And after that, I was like, I will never tell this woman I'm bored the rest of my life because if that means my punishment is having to read War and Peace, never again. But nevertheless, she had an amazing library connection. And so I would often find myself just pulling books off the shelf, like seeing what they were about, you know, Man Child and the Promised Land, like so many different roots, so many different books that, that talked about the Black experience in the past, present day, a lot of history. It's back then when every family had an encyclopedia. So that was down there as well. So I think her love of reading and language was a really key component. And then the other part of it was me just having a natural affinity for sports, loving to play sports, loving to read about sports, loving to watch sports. So it's sort of like I combined these two things when I started to really think about the kind of career that I wanted to have. You know, I reading the newspaper, I think growing up, because that was the way we followed our sports teams then, was like a big important piece of like why I became a journalist. You know, seeing the storytelling of sports that was possible and understanding like how you can capture a moment, like all those things. When I decided to take high school journalism at Mumford, that a lot of that decision was based off those kind of early principles and foundation that I had. So it was, yeah, I mean, it was a career I was just kind of destined for, and I was really lucky and fortunate to find it as early as I did. Like most young people, you go through 3, 4, maybe even 5 different career choices before you settle on the one. And for me to have discovered in 10th grade, like, hey, I think I want to try to be a sports writer, even though I wasn't even fully aware of what a sports writer did, but it just felt like something I wanted to try to do. So I credit not only her, but also just having that early natural draw towards sports in general.
Most definitely. And I got to ask you that because this may be a little bit redundant, but in today's day and age, I think we definitely have to be clear with some definitions. And you talked a little bit about at Bomisi, but how would you define journalism or a
So,
journalist?
I mean, for me, the underlying and core principle of journalism is curiosity. You have to be curious about how the world works, how it doesn't work, in order to be a journalist. And our business is still really about sort of the 5 questions: who, what, where, when, why, how. That's the business, right? And so, I know that there's this constant conversation between what is a journalist versus what is an influencer, and you know the difference. And that's not to at all disrespect what influencers do, but typically what influencers do are not the same thing that journalists do. Like, journalists aren't there to be part of the team. That's not what you do. It's like your job is to tell people what happened, give them context for why it happened, and perhaps ask some tough and sometimes uncomfortable questions along the way. A lot of influencers are essentially promoters and are an extension of the brand or the person or the event that they're covering. And it's like, journalists don't really do that. Is that, if I'm a journalist covering the Oscars, then I'm going to ask the actors questions not just about their work, but maybe about artistic choices they've made, decisions they've made. And some of those questions might be a little uncomfortable to ask. I think influencers are largely there to promote the health of the event. And it's like, I have to explain this sometimes to sports fans. It's like, your job is to be a fan, not mine. Like, my job is not to be the fan of the thing that I cover. I'm a fan of the information. I'm a fan of the story. I'm a fan of, like, the competitiveness and those sorts of things. But, like, yeah, if I cover the Pistons, my job is to cover the Pistons. My job is not to be a Pistons fan covering the Pistons. And so sometimes I think people, especially in today's age, because the lines have become so blurred, that it's hard for them to conceptualize what a journalist is actually supposed to do.
Yeah, and I definitely can concur with you on that because one of the things is I get deep into like the Piston fan podcast and like Woodward Sports and all those type of things. But what at the end of the day, I get upset listening to those because it's so based in like fanfare versus like what's
Mhm.
reality. Like, oh, we about to trade everybody for Kawhi, or we about to get
Right.
Kyrie Irving for a pack of Skittles. Like that's not how these
Right.
things work. And
Right.
because like in my mind, I'm a pseudo GM. I I know how some of those things work on the back end, but I definitely am with you there. And so, being a podcaster myself and knowing other people that's in this lane, you are in this space as well. Could podcasters be considered journalists, or would you have to have that journalist backing before coming into podcast, or could you become a journalist through podcasting? That's something I've been curious about.
No, I don't want people to get the impression that, I'm just saying that, oh, you have to have a degree to do it, or you have to have
Mhm.
majored in journalism. Like, you don't have to do any of those things to be a journalist. But I think there's a line and a level of, professional ethics that are very different than how most people, like, if you're a podcaster and you're interviewing people and you're asking good questions, and if you're able to be critical of the things that you're discussing and you're not just, um, being one-sided. I think fairness is really the thing. It's like, it's not about hiding behind objectivity. It's just about being fair. Like, are you being fair in your assessments and your conclusions and the questions that you're asking? So yeah, if you're a podcaster, you can do that. But the practice of journalism is about asking critical questions and um, also be willing to say the thing that is the truth that nobody wants to actually say.
Mhm.
And, like, if you want to see it in the context of, the Pistons, like, if you're interviewing Trajan Langdon, the president of the Pistons, like, you have to ask him why they didn't make a move at the trade deadline to get more shooting. That's a
Right.
critical question. That's what a journalist would ask. There are some people who might sit down with him and throw him some softball questions. And that doesn't mean you're always looking for a gotcha moment, but you have to be able to, um, sort of ask that uncomfortable, thing. And it's like a lot of people aren't really equipped to do that. And I remember people were sort of, or I guess, I don't know, controversy might be too strong of a word, but I don't remember what interview it was that Noriega did on Drink Champs. I generally enjoyed
Mm-hmm.
Drink Champs, but I think somebody asked me if I consider Noriega a journalist. I said, no, I don't consider Noriega a journalist. Noriega gets great interviews. I think he has great
Mm-hmm.
conversations that you
Yep.
learn a lot about people from those. But I don't even think he would call himself that. Like, he's not trying to be a journalist. I mean, he's just trying to have a conversation with somebody and kick it. Like, that's kind of what he's trying to do. They tell
Mm-hmm.
some stories, you know, you have some funny moments, and like that's it. But I think it was when he had an interview with Kanye, and some people were like disappointed. I was like, well, Nori's not a journalist. Like, so if you expected him to like sort of walk through with Kanye and be like, okay, so when you said slavery was a choice, or when you said this, I mean, he did ask him about some of that in
Right.
fairness,
Right.
but the type of interview that needs to be executed with Kanye West is something a journalist can do. A journalist should do.
Mm-hmm.
Because like there are people, if you're sitting down across from somebody and you're worried about the reaction and you're afraid to talk about certain things, that might not be the seat for you.
For sure.
Mhm.
And speaking of journalism, I know that you accepted or created the journalist creed to comfort the afflicted and afflict the comforted. And so, speaking of which, how you have been no stranger in terms of rocking the boat, speaking your mind, standing up for what's right, what you feel is right, injustices and so forth, and doing so at scale, fighting with people on Threads, Twitter, whatever the case may be, but nonetheless fighting the good fight. Do you feel like that was always rooted in you to speak up when something is not right, whether it started at a young age or is it something that you feel like you found your voice in as you created this pathway throughout your career?
Yeah, I think it was about sort of finding that because the other thing that, journalists do is you defend your work. And you defend your work with the assumption it's defensible. Okay. So it's like, you can't defend nonsense or whatever. And even that's part of it too, is that if you're wrong about something, you have to be willing to say, you know what, I got that one wrong.
Mhm.
It happens. But on the other side of it, especially if you're talking about something or saying something that's kind of unpopular, it has to be rooted in enough of a foundation that you can actually actively defend it. And so for me, I defend my position because I believe in it. It's authentic, and I feel like I have enough knowledge about that subject to where I can back up what I'm saying. And that's kind of that's an important component of the intellectual exercise. It's about, obviously sharing work, but it's also about defending work. Because like when I write a column for the Atlantic, or if I share an opinion, be it on a program like yours, is that I'm I'm thinking about not only what I'm gonna say, but what the counter to what I'm gonna say is. And like, how am I gonna respond to that? That's why the people who don't really believe in what they say, their arguments are so easily dismantled because they don't even really believe what they're saying.
Mhm.
And then their arguments are also hard to defend because they don't really believe what they're saying. So it's just like, I never wanted to be caught in that position of saying things I didn't actually believe because it's
Mhm.
impossible to defend those things. And so when I come at people or defend my work, you will know by my defense that it's coming from a real passionate place and a place of knowledge and I'm not just saying shit to say it.
And I had a moment over the weekend where I felt like I was you for a brief moment because my my threads don't really get motion, at least at this moment in time. And I put out a simple thread. What I thought it was just one thought that went out to the universe, and all I said was, "Pay black people what they are worth." You would you would have thought I was you by how
I was about
many
to say, let me guess,
trolls.
they thought that was real controversial, huh?
Absolutely. So many trolls and racist robots, and I'm looking at
Yep.
like the pages, and I'm like, these people. I don't even think these people really exist. But you can just
Mhm.
kind of see like people just mobbing on and like y'all don't deserve nothing. What you deserve, EBT? What you ain't
Yeah,
y'all all
yeah.
on food stamps? I'm like these thoughts just don't even have any merit to it, and clearly they don't know any black people. But that's a great point that you mentioned in terms of being able to if you have an opinion, being able to stand on it, being able to back it up, but then also thinking about the counter argument as well.
Mhm.
And what does that look like?
Yeah, because even with saying that is that the people who stood in opposition to you saying pay black people what they work, like, what's the counter? Don't pay them what they worth? Like, what is what is the counter? It's like, should you not do that? Or, and so that when you get people to sort of think about it that way, it just makes them look stupider. So it's just like, so you're arguing against paying people what they're worth is what I'm
Hmm.
gathering. All right. Um, so yeah, so sometimes I think it's necessary to do that. And I think that's how your own critical thinking continues to blossom, is like you being able to stand on it, defend it credibly. All of that lends itself to you, really sort of maturing in your opinions and the way you present yourself.
Love that. Now, Jamel, I got to take a pause in the action because I want to introduce you now to my favorite part of Black Fridays, which is Freestyle Fridays. So I saw you. We had Chef Geach on at
Oh
the top
no,
of the
don't do
year,
it.
and
Don't
I
do it. I'm just telling you right now, I'm not rapping. I'm telling you this right now, I am not rapping.
we can't get 4 bars, 8 bars.
No, God, no. Did you hear me when I was thinking? I was like, I can't think of anything I do worse than rap. And I actually thought there were other things that I did worse than that. I was like, oh no, 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 hands down. By far, it is rapping. Like that was really that's definitely in the top 5. One, Chef Geach is amazing and he's
Yes.
so creative. And when he asked me to be a part of it, I was really excited about
Mhm.
doing it. And then as we're into doing this, I then realized how hard it was and just the breath control that it takes, remembering everything. I was like, I never want to rap again. Unless I'm rapping along with something, that would
Uh-huh.
be it. But no, 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 that is not my testimony. That is not my gift. I don't There are a lot of things I thought I did poorly, but little did I know rapping was gonna be the worst of them. So
Okay.
I hate to go counter to what the theory or what the theme of this podcast is,
No, it's all
but
good.
I will not be freestyling. Not at all.
It's all good because I always got a contingency plan. And so that contingency plan is just rapid fire questions, which is what Freestyle Fridays really is. Just
Okay.
rapid
All
fire questions,
right.
get it done
All
a
right.
little
I can do
better.
that. I can do
All
that.
right. All right. So I know that you are a proud Michigan State Spartan. I am a proud Michigan Wolverine. And so in exchange, if you could say one thing nice about the University of Michigan, I'll say one thing nice about Michigan State.
Hmm. Really interesting question, especially on the day
Today.
as we're
Yeah.
recording this that Dusty May decided to leave to go coach at Dallas, which was a very interesting move, especially this point
Yep.
in the calendar. What I will say is like I think a Michigan State fan would be lying to themselves if they didn't acknowledge or consider that like the brand of Michigan itself is probably one of the top 5 most durable, biggest, most popular brand in all of sports.
Mhm.
Like for sure. Like the winged helmet, the brand of Michigan itself is like, yeah, I mean, I think it's probably one of the best brands in all of sports. So yes, I can say something nice about the
Well,
Wolverines.
thank you. And in exchange, I will say that it's not so secret now. Growing up, it was definitely secret, but I root for Izzo. I be wanting to see him win and do well. And what I love about his program and what he runs is that he will take lower tier athletes, quote unquote, or not as looked at, oversaw athletes and get them to perform at the highest level to play against the Dukes, the Kentuckys, the
Mhm.
whoever, and like really go out there and give everything that they got. So I admire that about the Spartans and the program. And y'all campus is decent too. I'm not mad at the campus. What
You know our campus is way better than Michigan's, right? You know this. You know this. I was like,
I
"What? That ain't even
mean,
close."
maybe not
You you
now, but the
No, no, I
totality
would say
probably.
this, Michigan see, this is what's so different is that see, Michigan, the city was there. Ann Arbor is a city, is a very nice
Mhm.
city, right?
Yes.
But in East Lansing, it's like the campus was there before the city, right? So it's like our campus is our campus. Like
Yeah.
it's not
Facts.
weaved into East Lansing the same way that Michigan's campus is woven into Ann Arbor. Like, so
Right.
it's sort of like you're cheating by saying that because you're really thinking about Ann Arbor and not really the actual campus of Michigan. Because like
Yeah.
we got a whole river running through our campus. Are you kidding? Our botany garden, our botanical garden. Like what? That's not even close. And you all have to admit that our school is the better party school.
Oh
Definitely is
yeah,
ours.
that
Like
goes without question.
I was
Yeah,
like,
no.
we not the better party school, like for sure.
That goes without question.
Yeah.
So, Jamel, can you tell me the most random job or the first job that you remember having? I know that over the years you've had plenty of roles and opportunities, but coming up, do you remember like what your first job was or the most random job you ever did?
Well, I'll say the most random. That's probably a little more interesting. Most random job I ever had was I delivered phone books. And I
Okay.
know that people are like, "Hey, what's a phone book?" But you know, we did they believe it or not, we actually used to put everybody's number in one book and you would get one once a year. We had a phone book and a yellow pages. So I used to deliver
Hmm.
phone books and yellow pages when I was in college because I was so broke. And in addition to working at my college newspaper, because I think those phone books and yellow pages were available usually toward the end of the year because you were getting it for the next year. So I had a little Ford Probe, and these books are heavy. So I had to load up my car with all of these phone books, and I would deliver them. And I don't remember how much I made per book. I don't know. It probably was like $5 a book if I delivered it. But it was the dead of winter and, like, getting out in and out of the car, dead of winter, snow everywhere, and you having to put these books on everybody's porches. It was by far the worst job I've ever had, and I was like, "I know I was never meant for manual labor because this is not me," but I was also broke, so it is what it is, but I got a little extra Christmas and spring break money out of it.
So you were the original DoorDash.
I was, except for I wish I was delivering food, though, knowing me, I probably would've stole half of y'all food, but unfortunately, I was delivering phone books and the yellow pages.
For sure. And Jamel, being a proud Detroiter, I got to know what's your Coney order, if you even still eat Coney Island.
Not as much as I used to, but see, it's as you know, it's two types of Conies, right? Like, if I'm just
Facts.
going straight up just for a Coney dog, I'm going to Lafayette, right?
Okay.
Though I haven't been there since that whole rat thing happened. I have
Good
not
for
been
you.
in
Yeah.
Lafayette.
Good for
My
you.
favorite overall Coney is L. George's on 6 Mile.
There
And
you go.
so, if I go to, what was it? Everybody, I haven't had it yet, but everybody has told me about. Usually, I'm getting a breakfast order 9 times out of 10, like
Mhm.
pancakes with hash browns. Like I love Coney Island breakfasts. The
Yep.
bacon, El George's do they bacon just right. Oof, it's spectacular. But everybody said that I need to get on. I think it's like the chicken Caesar salad wrap. They said that like that wrap is out cold. So I was like, next time I go home, I'm gonna have to roll up at L. George's and get one of those. But that's my favorite
Definitely.
Coney. L. George's on 6 Mile.
Yep. Perfect answer because I classified the American Lafayette. Number one, people watching this not from Detroit, don't go there if you really want a Coney Island
I mean,
experience.
to be honest, I wouldn't be there. Yeah. I mean, if you just wanted the hot dog itself, like you just want the hot
Yes.
dog with the
Yeah.
chili,
Right.
just chili
Yeah.
cheese, some chili
Being
fry.
that's the
Okay,
move.
like if it's a tourist staple, I
Yeah.
would obviously say Lafayette. But like,
Yeah. So
if
that
the real Coney experience to me is the Coney's in the hood. So
there you
that's
go.
the real
There
one.
you go.
Yeah.
Because I classify those as Coney Island and L. George's. That's the Coney, DA Coney.
The Coney, right? Probably a good way to put that. Yes, that's a good distinction. I approve.
For sure. And who is the most famous person you would say in your phone?
Ooh, who is the most famous person in my phone? I was like, hold up, you gotta go. Well, I don't know if this is the most famous, but I would say probably most. Well, it's two that come to mind: Will Smith and Cher. Those are
Okay.
the two probably most famous people I could think of that are in my phone. Like Cher is so random that it's like, but yes, it was I met or actually somebody else, a mutual friend, introduced me to Cher because Cher's like quite the activist, which I didn't know, and so
Mm,
not too long after I went through the whole stuff with Donald Trump, Cher
mm,
wanted to reach out to me and talk to me, and so um, the mutual person that we knew that I didn't even know knew her, like was like, "Hey, Cher wants to know is it okay if you call her?" And I was like, "Cher, absolutely, she can call me." So yeah, so like her and I would text her every now and again. I haven't texted her in a while. I wonder if the number is still the same, but share, and then yeah, Will Smith, I have his number. So, and Will, the
That's
thing,
tough.
Will will always text you back. Now,
That's what's up.
to prior to Will and Cher, or who would have been in that pantheon of famous people, would probably be Kobe Bryant. So those would probably be the three
For
most famous
sure.
that were in my phone.
For sure.
Mm.
And because I had mentioned this to you at Bomisi in terms of your platform, Unbothered, that being a catalyst to me wanting to start Black Fridays, I got to ask you this question as an ode to that show. What's got you bothered right now?
That's a long list, man. That is a long list of things. Um, I mean, I could go easily for the big stuff and be like, oh, our political climate, the apathy, those kind of things. That's obviously,
I was gonna say let's
just
get petty. Let's make it
yeah.
the smallest thing that's pissing you off right
What's the smallest thing that has me bothered? Uh, you know what? It's probably I don't know what has happened with hotels in that they just don't want to give you lights anymore. It's like, why are they so dark? It's like their lamps. There used to be like an overall hotel light that you would
now. Right.
have, and it would
Right.
like light up the whole room. Now you literally have to cut on like 72 lights in a hotel room just for it to be lit properly. And I just don't understand, why is this the case? Why can't we properly light hotels anymore? Like when did we stop doing that? So not a big fan of how hotel lighting is positioned. So that's probably like the pettiest little beef. I also don't understand overnight oats. I don't even get the purpose of this. I was like, why do I want oatmeal that has been out overnight? Like I don't really get it. And I'm just like, what is the point of overnight oats? Like, you're gonna have to explain, because what is the reason? It's what I'm struggling to understand the concept of overnight oats. So those are probably my two pettiest beefs right now.
I love it. I love it. I am support. I support the pettiness. So even though we didn't get no bars, we appreciate you for
I
partaking in
don't
Freestyle Fridays.
right. Okay, yeah, it's like, I the bars, and I feel like I did your viewers a favor by not doing that. Like, you'll retain way more of your viewers as long as I don't rap.
Well, we all appreciate it,
Yeah.
nonetheless. So, thank you very much. And going back into the interview focused questions, I would love to be able to now talk to you about your progression and journey throughout the years, throughout media, and how that has been able to shape you, given the fact that you have been a writer and then turning into a TV personality, and then I get a chance to see you on some of my favorite shows, Luke
Mhm.
Cage and Power, and you
Yeah.
did Zeke wrong, but we're not gonna touch that. We're gonna leave that where
No,
that is.
Tariq did Zeke wrong because he didn't have him prep right. Okay, he's
two,
supposed to be his little manager or whatever. Why ain't he have him prep right?
two things can be true, but
Yeah.
so would love to understand someone who was, more than welcome to being behind the pen at one point in time and growing into someone who is now in the midst of developing their own media empire, so to speak, and your legacy in that. What has that progression been like for you?
It's been amazing because it wasn't something that I planned. Like, if you'd have told me 10 years ago I've been able to be in, popular TV shows playing myself, I mean, I would have never, that really wasn't on the bingo card. And really, a lot of that is just rooted in fun. Is that, I struck up a good friendship with Courtney Kemp, who is the creator of the Power Universe. And as a result, she had a role for a writer, or a journalist, or, a broadcast person. So she thought I'd be good to play it. De'Ara Kirkpatrick, who does De'Ara from Detroit.
Yep.
De'Ara is like, she's a genius. She was actually one of the
Mhm.
first people when I moved to LA in 2018. De'Ara was like one of the first people I actually met in LA, because we had a mutual friend, and she's like, "Oh, you should meet my homegirl. She's from Detroit too." Met, instantly liked her, and she was then working on the show. And she's like, "Oh, I'm working on the show, still kind of figuring it out, whatever." And fast forward to when she finally created, De'Ara from Detroit. She hit me up and asked if I want to do a cameo. And I was like, heck yeah. In a show about Detroit that's like so many references to things that culturally we grew up with. And she's just a really phenomenally creative person. So I'm in the next season too. And so I'm very excited
Okay.
about that. But all of those were just extension of the other work that I was doing. And I guess if I never purposely sought any acting opportunities. I just happened to know some people and it just kind of worked out that way. But, beyond that, at this iteration of my career, once I left ESPN and kind of became more of an independent journalist, that was a really interesting challenge for me at this stage in my career. Like a lot of journalists don't really want to be entrepreneurs, but I was sort of forced into entrepreneurship, if you will, just realizing that I myself was the business. And so, and there was a lot of different things I wanted to do that still all rooted back and in some ways always connected to storytelling. So, I started writing for documentaries. As I mentioned, I'm a contributing writer for the Atlantic, wrote my book, also just finished a children's book that'll be out next year. So it's like the foundation of the things that I do like never changed. It just started to take on different forms. And um, it wasn't like I sat down and it was like, okay, for the next 10 years I'm gonna do this. A lot of this has just been on the fly. And I've still been able to not just write, but also continue to have a foot in broadcast journalism. I'm in New York right now because I'm working for CNN for the
Mhm.
next couple of days doing Abby Phillips show. Like still being able to do that and doing other media platforms is always an important component to kind of like my larger media kind of environment that I've created. But yeah, when you're out here in this media environment, like you have to be a bit of a utility knife and be able to do a lot of things, a lot of different things. I mean, they may all lead back to the main thing, but yeah, I think it's a huge benefit. The fact that I know how to host, I know how to interview, I can also write. Like these are all very important skills that have allowed me to put my hand in a lot of different pots. And so
Mhm.
now I feel like this is the most versatile I've ever been in my career. And I'm just sort of tapping into that. Like one day I definitely want to write a screenplay and do some more writing and behind the scene work. Because I definitely want to direct a documentary. There's some documentaries I have in mind that I would like to direct. But to me, all of it is under the general umbrella of storytelling. And so
Mhm.
I feel like that is my strong suit, is like I know how to tell a story. And that can take on many different forms. And the exciting part is getting to explore, what those different forms look like.
Love it. And as you continue the journey, what do you have on the horizon? What do you see in your crystal ball that you would be able to share with us so that we can, number one, see it come back to you in the universe, and then also be able to support you along the way?
Yeah, as I mentioned, the children's book I have is coming out next January, so I'm excited about that. I've never written for children before, and it is different. It's different in a good way because when you write for kids, you have to actually be optimistic. Like you have to like give them hope and plant a seed and inspire them, and that's like very different. I will say. So doing that, I also have a weekly newsletter that's available on the
Mhm.
Beehive platform that I launched on June 1st. Continuing to build and strengthen my YouTube page, Spolitics. My own podcast is
Mhm.
on my YouTube page. I do that 3 times a week. That's been really good and fruitful. I have a also another podcast with Carrie Champion, my former ESPN colleague, called Flagrant and Funny. That's available on YouTube, and also iHeart, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast at. And in terms of like on the horizon, I am going to direct a documentary. I feel like this is going to happen within 5 years. I'm already in the pitch process with a certain documentary that I want to do that is actually Detroit related,
Nice.
and we're about to go into pitch mode with it. And so I'm just really hoping that uh, that it gets picked up, that we get a buyer, because I would love to do this, and I think it would be such a love letter for me to Detroit and I think it'd be amazing, and it completely ties into the energy of the moment of where the city is right now. So I really do want to manifest that into happening in the next 5 years.
Love it. Dude, just let me know if you got a Blade Icewood documentary somewhere in the tuck.
I do
Because
not. Okay, I can tell
we
you it's not
need
Blade
that.
Ice. It's
Okay,
not
we
that.
need. All
All
right,
right,
no, we
but we
need
do
that.
need one. We
We
do need
need it.
one. I agree. We do need one. But
Cause
that
Lil
that is
Blade look
what.
just like him, so we can just put him in there.
I was like, I could definitely see that, or I could see it as a docu series, or not a docu series, but like as a series, like in
Yes,
general. I could see it as a
yes.
series, and It's funny. I was just talking to somebody because I heard. I know who people are gonna think it is, but that's not who I'm talking about. But I have heard through the grapevine that people are shopping a series, a dramatic series about one of our former mayors. That
Okay.
I'll let y'all guess which one it is, but I've been told that by a number of insiders that that series, excuse me, is being shot.
That's it was a movie in real time itself, so I can only imagine what it looked like on the big screen.
Yeah, so I think that to me would be dope,
Okay,
to have that. So
I
yeah,
agree.
and as I said, it's not who is there generationally. I know who people are going to guess. It's not him. It's somebody. It's somebody else.
Okay,
Oh
I
yeah,
think I'm following you.
yeah,
I,
okay.
I
But
so
yeah, somebody who well, let's just say he had extensive time as mayor. So
yes, yeah,
all right,
I'm hip now. Yeah.
yes, exactly. So you get it.
So Jamel, as we land the plane here, where can the people tap in with you if they are not already one of your millions of followers? How can they find you? How can they touch base with you? How can they get a book? Where can the folks find you?
Well, the books are still available wherever books are sold. I always encourage people to buy the book from a black bookstore,
Mhm.
because bookstores, I think, have a special community fixture, for black folks. So, and why am I struggling to think of what the black bookstore is in Detroit? Because I've certainly been there before, but I'm struggling to think of it now. But never
Source.
source. Yep.
Yep.
So anyway, book is still available. Also would say, the beauty of having sort of a distinct name. It's the same name everywhere. It's Jemele Hill everywhere on all social media platforms. And yeah, like, certainly like, subscribe, do all the things for my YouTube page, sign up for my newsletter. The latest issue of the newsletter, I'm writing about the Knicks and whether or not they'll actually make the trip to the White House now that James Dolan, their owner, has accepted an invitation, and what that might look like for them, as well as some other things. So it's a pretty robust newsletter that I think people will enjoy.
Very dope. And so everybody listening, make sure that y'all tap in with Jamel and continue the story. And I will leave you with this to show you, continue my appreciation for you joining the podcast today and being a woman of your word. Back in 2013, January 2nd of 2013, we're connected on LinkedIn. I don't know how, when it happened, but we
What?
connected on LinkedIn somehow.
Okay.
And and I sent you a message. I said, hello, Miss Hill. My name is Denzel Turner. I'm a senior at the University of Michigan, graduating in May, studying communication studies. I'm interested in working in the sports field and marketing, and I would like to potentially link up with you to pick your brain about the field and ask about your journey to where you are today. I hope to hear from you soon. Take care. Best of luck. Now, the link up only took 13 years, but it has finally
And I feel
it has
so bad
finally
because,
happened.
like, LinkedIn, I like started a profile, did all the things, and like literally didn't check it for like 7 years. It was so bad. I was like, why did I sign up for this? And like, I try to every now and again, I'll go back on there and be like, okay, I'm here, but I'm sort of not here. It's like, just figuring out a way to more incorporate it in my larger social media ecosystem. But I'm glad this is much better. Like, this is much better than me responding on LinkedIn for sure. Definitely.
Absolutely. Very grateful for you joining us today. Thank you for being an advocate for our people. Thank you for always pushing the envelope when it comes to your work and your journalism. It is important, and we need more people like you to be able to continue to not only represent the city of Detroit, but represent people that look like us and the backgrounds we come from. So grateful for you pulling up on this today.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Absolutely. Thank you. Everybody watching, listening, we're going to tap in with y'all soon. Peace.